Hey, 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 today is National Constitution Day and National Citizenship Day. So it's kind of strange. I thought maybe it'd be National Constitution and Citizenship Day, but I guess it's kind of two separate days. I don't know. Maybe, could be. I don't know. I'm not going to really comment on it because I don't want to get political. Because I know people kind of get a little irritated whenever I, show my left leanings. So just pointing out that it's National Constitution Day and National Citizenship Day. All right, so, and the Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer. I'm back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I am the founder and editor-in-chief. Otherwise, I like to say I'm the Grand Poobah. So, welcome aboard. It is Monday. It is September 17th. And I have to say, kind of missed having a show on Friday. But if you happen to watch The Daily Dope, then you already know that on Friday I had a cardiologist appointment. And if you follow the Gaming Gang on Twitter, you know that I actually had to go do a stress test after my appointment with the cardiologist. Yeah, stress test. Anyway, I will talk a little bit more about that after the news. And I know last week I kind of talked about I was kicking around maybe not doing news on the Daily Dope and just focusing on unboxings and reviews. But the reality is, number one, I like doing news. I like seeing what's out there, what's new, and sharing it with you. And also, sometimes, like for an example, today I'm going to be reviewing the latest Smash Up expansion, Oops, You Did It Again, from AEG. This isn't going to be a very long review. I'm just going to talk about the four factions, kind of show them off, and talk about some of the new rules, some of the new kind of twists to the game, little wrinkles to the gameplay. But it's not going to be a super long review. So, although I have to point out, if you watch the show, you already know that I'm not one of these guys who does like a 5-minute review. Yeah, I don't know. If I were a publisher, I probably wouldn't be that thrilled with people who only do 3 to 5 minute reviews on products. I don't know, just me. But I think folks out there already know that I tend to ramble on anyway, as far as the reviews and the show. Anyway, so there is news today. I got quite a bit of it. Before I jump into it, do want to point out this is a live stream. So if you are catching the show on YouTube, there is chat available. It is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the stranger commenters at bay. But if you have a question, comment, want to say hello, or you want to see something a little closer up with Smash Up, Oops, You Did It Again, by all means, chime in and I will respond. So let's hop on into the news because there's a new title that's arriving next month from Artana Games, a company I am not familiar with, but their game has caught my eye, and I've got the dope. Speakeasy Blues brings players back to 1920s Prohibition-era New York City, when hooch smuggling, mobsters, dirty cops, and the rich and famous ruled the nights. In order to make your mark as well as your fortune, you'll need to create the most prestigious speakeasy of the time before the 18th Amendment is repealed. Collect expensive items such as yachts or cars to prove your worth. Invite in well-known historical figures of society of the time to class up the joint. Make deals with mobsters while being careful to hide them from view during classy soirees, lest they detract from your reputation. Do favors for dirty cops to add to your set collection, as well as allow you to bust any mobsters on the attack from competing hooch vending entrepreneurs. Of course, there is jazz to liven up the night and add bonuses to your action selections, as well as soirees to provide additional cash flow and reputation to your gin joint. So roll the dice, draft a set for worker placement, and enjoy a strategic and thematic delve into the high society, law-breaking, liquor-driven endeavors of the time. May the most hoppin' and shaken speakeasy win. Speakeasy Blues is for 2 to 4 players. It plays in around 45 to 60 minutes, and it will carry an MSRP of $60 when it arrives this October. So I have to point out, this seems pretty different. I gotta point out too, I'm very, very surprised that on the cover of the box, the artwork is a singer smoking a cigarette. I mean, that is very appropriate for the era, don't get me wrong. That's kind of a ballsy move, I guess I would say, to include smoking on the cover of the game box. But I wish I had some more artwork that I could have found about this game, some more images, because this sounds pretty interesting. And even though it's got blues in its name, it is not a blues speakeasy, because blues wasn't really, I mean, it was around, but blues didn't start making its way up north from the south until like the 30s, mainly the 40s and later. So very cool. I dig games that like jump into the history in that, and it supposedly has some historical figures as well. So this is one that you might want to keep your eye out for when it comes in October. Though I gotta say, $60 MSRP seems a little pricey. Then again, I haven't seen everything from the game. I just see like this spread that I'm sharing. All right, there's also a unique looking science fiction title from Grand Gamers Guild, which I've heard of. They're fairly new. I'm just not familiar with anything that they've made yet. But they do have a Kickstarter project that's going on right now, and I've got the dope on the Artemis Project. Europa, Jupiter's moon. Deep beneath the crust, the oceans are teeming with alien sea life. Shellfish, plants, corals, arthropods, even strange fish and larger sea creatures populate a wide-ranging, interconnected web of hidden seas. Volcanism is rampant, warming the mineral-rich waters and creating excellent conditions for energy harvesting. The largest cavern close to the surface is known as the Pocket. This is where the initial teams of stabilizers built their first outposts, with the intent to establish long-term communities capable of surviving indefinitely. Aqua farming is well established. Food and other sundries are efficiently gathered. The Pocket has many deposits of minerals and crystals that can be mined and processed to create strong and versatile construction materials locally. Colonists arrive at the doorstep at regular intervals when the threshold is opened. The arrivals are for 4 general types: pioneers, who are tasked with exploring the changing surface of the moon and labyrinth of seas beneath; engineers, who develop and operate the machinery and structures needed to run the colonies; marines, who defend the colonies from hostile sea life, unwanted intruders, and other colonies; and stewards, overseers responsible for strategy and negotiation. The Artemis Project is a dice displacement and engine building game that has you fighting the planet as well as the other players. Roll your dice and place them tactically to thwart the other colonists. Harvest energy and minerals, bid for buildings, work together to go on expeditions to earn rewards, train workers. Will your efforts be enough to survive? I don't know. But I do have to point out that Grand Gamers Guild does have a Kickstarter video. It's about 3 minutes long. So let's kick back and give it a peek.
Europa, the frozen moon of Jupiter. It took decades to bioform this ball of ice into a place that can just barely support human life. But the effort was worth it to get to the great living oceans below. With the threshold energy shield holding in the warming atmosphere and the doorstep spaceport fully active, teams of stabilizers descend to compete for leadership of this hostile moon. The submerged cavern we call the Pocket conceals all the raw materials you'll need to succeed. The hidden oceans are warmed by thermal vents and teem with alien sea life beyond our wildest dreams. Build your colony under the ice. Explore the surface and the seas beneath, and prove that you have what it takes to build this new home for humankind. The Artemis Project begins.
The Artemis Project is a competitive dice placement game where you play as the leader of a colony of stabilizers, meeting the challenges of Europa's frozen surface and mysterious oceans. Each player runs a colony, but competition is fierce. Players roll their own pool of dice and then take turns placing them in the various zones of the board. Important locations include the mines for building materials, the vents for warming energy, the doorstep where colonists arrive, the gantry where you'll construct above and below the ice shelf, and the hangars where you'll send teams on perilous expeditions. Several zones use the innovative exposure mechanism. When placing, your dice go in numerical order from left to right. When harvesting, dice activate from left to right, gaining the amounts they show. If resources run out before your die is counted, you're exposed, and you get nothing. This creates awesome tension between placing high dice to get a lot of something, but dreading exposure as lower dice slip in line ahead of you. Your colony begins with the bare essentials. Soon enough, you'll build structures clinging to the underside of the ice, enhancing your capabilities. Eventually, you'll also build surface structures to earn victory points in different ways. Expeditions will be key to your efforts. Include unassigned colonists to boost your chances of success. Don't get too confident. A variety of rule-bending events, from sea quakes to hailstorms, will add a new wrinkle every round. At the end of the game, you'll score for your resources, your structures, your team of colonists, and your success at expeditions. The greatest colony earns the oversight of the Artemis Project and will lead the continuing exploration of these alien oceans and the secrets they hold.
The Artemis Project is about 180% funded, and it is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and plays in around an hour. You can reserve a copy of the core game and all unlock stretch goals for a $55 pledge through October 5th. Expected delivery is May of next year. Gotta say, looks pretty interesting. And obviously it is science fiction. Even though you are colonizing one of Jupiter's moons, there's creatures there and things like that. So it's not science-based, right? I gotta say, though, I haven't played a lot of dice placement games. I've played Kingsburg a few times. It is called Kingsburg, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's called Kingsburg. I don't own it. And it's been a few years since I played it, but I played that a few times and played Alien Frontiers. And the weird thing is, there was like just such big buzz, and I mean, it was just like the super hotness when Alien Frontiers came out. And I actually didn't think it was all that great. Sorry, I know, what can I tell you? But this does look unique because there are various different cards, and it looks like you have different ways to assign your workers, assign your dice, as opposed to, it's only all just on one board and that's it. So it looks like a lot of replayability going on there too. So pretty sweet, pretty sweet. So if you are curious, by all means, go over to the Grand Gamers Guild website and check it out. And if you'd like, be sure to support that Kickstarter. All right, my friends over at Tiny Battle Publishing have a new title available, and it is a zombie game, but it's pretty cool looking, and it's at the strategic level. So it's a Z game on a global scale, and I've got the dope on Zombie War. It isn't the end of the world, but you can see it from here. The plague of brain-chopping, quasi-dead, previously discounted and denied had become a genuine menace in several major cities. Every government has its own notions of how to deal with it. Major corporations seek to manipulate the crisis. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess I could see some corporations doing that. Military leaders push against the limits of civilian control, and the zombies simply hunger. Zombie War is a 2 to 4 player game that takes the zombie threat to a global level. Each player has 2 hidden victory conditions and has to reach them using a rotating selection of roles, each with different powers and ways to gain victory points. In one turn, you might be playing as the zombies, the next, the government, the next, the military, and finally, the corporations. Yet your victory conditions, for example, to infect 3 major capitals or to protect trade centers, remain the same. The decisions you make as one role affects the other players, but may also affect you when you take on a different role in the next round. It is multiplayer mayhem on a strategic level. Zombie War is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Ages 12 and up, and plays in about an hour. Right now, you can snag the title from Tiny Battle at a discounted price of $25. Zombie War will normally carry an MSRP of $30. Do want to mention that this is a title from Tiny Battle that is not available as a print and play. I do not see any info as far as picking up the print and play from, say, Wargame Vault. So did want to mention that. It is only available physically from Tiny Battle Publishing. Okay, so fans of Warhammer Age of Sigmar should be excited to know that there's a new battle tome that has arrived, and I've got the dope on Beasts of Chaos. The earth trembles as the beast herds approach. Plants wither and rot, animals are filled with an instinctual fear, and the air grows thick with the taint of raw chaos energy. Nothing like raw chaos energy. Then the bloodthirsty braying begins. The beasts of chaos emerge from the woodland knots and rocky outcrops, bellowing their savage battle cries as they fall upon their prey. They are the true children of chaos, and through them, anarchy and ruin are spread across the lands of these civilized races. In this 104 page, I need a sip. Too much talking, Jeff, without wetting the whistle. In this 104-page hardback battle tome, Beasts of Chaos, you'll find From the Wilderness They Come, an introduction to the Beasts of Chaos, savage and twisted creatures that spread anarchy throughout the mortal realms. Primeval Origins. The Beasts of Chaos predate even the earliest records by any scribe, and the oral traditions describing them have long faded into memory. But legends persist and are presented here. The true children of chaos. Beasts of Chaos's inherent ferocity is not a gift bestowed by the dark gods, and nor is it due to enslavement. They embody chaos in its purest and most well, it's misspelled there. It should be, I believe it should be anarchic form. The way of the beast. While the beasts of chaos are as varied as the wilderlands in which they gather, certain traits, violence, mercilessness, and predation, yeah, those are my traits as well, are common to all. No, they're really not my traits. Detailed explanations of the great phrase and beast herds of this faction, their motivations and known histories. Annals of Entropy, a chronicle of the recorded events in which the full savagery and fury of the Beasts of Chaos was unleashed. Gathering of the Great Phrase, an explanation of the organization of the Beasts of Chaos armies, including an example of how a particular beast herd is organized, along with descriptions of 7 legendary Great Phrase. All Herd, Darkwalkers, Gave Spawn. I would think maybe that would, normally I would think that would be like Grave Spawn, but it says Gave Spawn, Skull Phrase, Twist Phrase, Rot Phrase, and Slake Phrase, including their heraldry and color schemes. An explanation and background of each character and unit available to a Beast of Chaos army, a showcase of beautifully painted Citadel miniatures, with an example army and comprehensive painting advice from the experts. This advice covers a huge variety of examples and techniques, showing you how to achieve effects like glowing runes, mutated flesh, horn stription, don't know what that is, scales and liver spots, and add icons and beast markings to your miniatures. On top of this, there are step-by-step guides to the color schemes of the following great phrase: Allherd, Gave Spawn, and Dark Walkers, as well as specific effects for each Chaos God. The 102-page hardcover is available right now, and it does carry an MSRP of $40. I'm becoming a little more friendly to Games Workshop. I've always loved their sculpts, always liked their actual games. It's always their business model that I've kind of, had an issue with, especially how they treated retailers back in the day, especially here in the US. Very, very strange. But I guess they've gotten better. That's what I've heard from folks who are retailers, that they have gotten better. So that is the latest Beast Tome that's available, or I should say Battle Tome that's available. Big news from Fantasy Flight Games, because the second edition of Star Wars X-Wing is now available, and I've got the dope. It is a period of civil war. Across the galaxy, brave rebel pilots strike out against the tyranny of the Galactic Empire, engaging swarms of Imperial starfighters in tense ship-to-ship combat. Meanwhile, on the fringes of the conflict, notorious criminals, pirates, and bounty hunters scour the stars in search of ways to extract a profit from both sides. New aces emerge alongside some of these Star Wars galaxy's best pilots, and now you have the chance to earn your reputation as a crack fighter pilot. Boy, I swear, on Mondays it's like I can't read. It's like, what the hell's going on? A new era of thrilling starfighter battles has arrived. The X-Wing 2nd Edition core set and 14 expansions are now available. X-Wing 2nd Edition gives you the chance to assemble your squadron, hop into the cockpit of some of the most iconic fighters from the Star Wars saga, and engage in frantic space battles on your tabletop. During every game, you'll plot your ship's maneuvers, making split-second decisions as you fly into the chaos of a space battle. You'll take advantage of every ship and every pilot's unique capabilities to gain an advantage over your opponent, and you'll make use of several upgrades and choose your special weapons as you strategically position your ships to launch devastating attacks. Man your ships and take command of your squadron. The tyranny of the Galactic Empire is spreading across the galaxy, but hope is not so easily extinguished. The heroic pilots of the Rebel Alliance are ready to take to their fighters and push back against the might of the Empire. The fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. Get to your fighters and enter the next evolution of starfighter combat. Star Wars X-Wing 2nd Edition is for 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 30 to 45 minutes, and does carry an MSRP of $39.95. Included in the starter box is a single X-Wing fighter, as well as 2 TIE fighters. Gotta say, when this was announced that there was a new edition of Star Wars X-Wing, they used to call it X-Wing the Miniatures game, there were a lot of people who were upset because you had to actually, I shouldn't say had, you'll have to actually purchase these conversion kits for your minis. And I think, if I remember correctly, if you owned all the miniatures that had come out for the first edition of X-Wing, you were going to shell out about $150. I think $150 to $160 for these conversion kits. So people were not too thrilled. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe Fantasy Flight Games looks at it like, well, yeah, like every other miniatures company out there, got to change the core rules and everything every 3-4 years. I mean, X-Wing's been out for a while, but it hasn't been out that long. So I don't know. I gotta say, I love the minis, though. I have not played the game. I have heard good and bad about it. But you got to admit, those miniatures are pretty sweet. All right, so how about a little RPG news? Because Strands of Fate 2nd Edition is available in PDF right now from Void Star Studios, and I've got the dope on the new role-playing game supplement. The wizard's staff hums with the power of an unleashed spell. The assassin's cybernetic arm ejects a hidden blade. The superpowered defender of New York melts the robots to slag with his heat vision. The intrepid investigator stands firm against the mind-wrenching eldritch horror before him. Cleaner, clearer, and more concise, Strands of Fate 2nd Edition continues down the path set forth by the original Strands of Fate, providing a standalone set of core rules for using the Fate game system to tell exciting stories of action, adventure, horror, and intrigue across an infinite variety of time periods and genres. Strands of Fate 2nd Edition contains the core rules. This book is fully self-contained and contains all the rules you need for making characters and playing the game. Aspects. Full rules for the creation and use of aspects, the popular narrative mechanic that has defined the Fate game system since its inception. Strands. These are guidelines creating them, as well as 4 sample strands you can use as written, alter to suit your needs, or use as examples when creating your own. These include Strands of Cthulhu, in which desperate investigators confront the minions of the Elder Gods. Strands of Fantasy, in which bold adventurers fight against savage and ancient evils for honor and treasure. Strands of Valor, in which heroes are imbued with superpowers and stand against tyranny and annihilation. As well as Strands of Neon and Chrome, in which cybernetically enhanced underdogs fight back against the oppressive megacorporate elite. There are perks and powers, the extraordinary and supernatural advantages that separate your characters from the masses, whether a mutant psychic, a crusty old wizard, a crazed cultist, an ancient vampire, a cross-wielding priest, or a genetically enhanced cyber soldier, we've got you covered. Powers are presented as self-contained special abilities that are defined with aspects and further detailed through the application of limitations and enhancements. There's also deviations, an entire chapter dedicated to writing modular variant rules that are added to, subtracted from, or used in place of these standard core rules. Deviations serve as a series of dials and switches which can be used to tune the rules to better suit the story you want to tell. And then there's antagonists. The game mastery chapter contains a number of sample NPCs and creatures to challenge your PCs with, or to serve as examples when creating your own. The 228-page Fate supplement is available right now through our Drive-Thru RPG for $14.99 if you are interested in the 2nd edition of Strands of Fate. Gotta say, I dig Fate. In fact, a while back I was talking about on the show how I was kind of kit bashing this fantasy RPG for my nephew and his friends, and I wanted to go more story as opposed to a lot of crunch and combat mechanics and things like that. Of course, there's combat, obviously, but and I was utilizing Fate, and I like Fate. Only problem I have with Fate is it's kind of odd when you're looking at character advancement. So really, you're looking at kind of replacing aspects, things like that. Plus, magic was kind of odd, trying to put that together for it. But I have heard good things about the 1st edition of Strands of Fate, so that's why I wanted to point out that it is now available, the 2nd edition, on Drive-Thru RPG. And as always, when I talk about Drive-Thru RPG, if you are going to go visit any of the Drive-Thru sites, including Wargame Vault, please stop over at thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banners. Somebody had emailed me the other day saying, "Hey, I want to buy some stuff off of Drive-Thru RPG, but I don't know what I'm supposed to click on your website so that you get, a little portion of the sale." I was like, you just click on one of the banners. You gotta usually have a couple of banners running at all times on any page that you're on, the Gaming Gang. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty obvious, but I guess I was wrong. But as I was pointing out, if you do happen to make a purchase, We'll get a little portion, and that all adds up. I swear, it really does. Okay, so that's it for the news today. So I want to talk about my my trip to the cardiologist real quick. Just kind of feel, because people like knowing what's going on with my health. If you have not watched the Daily Dope that often, then you probably don't know I had a near fatal heart attack back on March 15th. So there was talk that there was going to be a second stent. They put one stent in my heart. So there was discussion of doing a second stent. Well, I guess that's not what we're going to do. So I thought that was pretty cool, because I'm not real excited to have to go back into the hospital and stuff like that, even though having a stent put in, I'd probably be staying overnight. It wouldn't be like a long time. But so I thought that was cool. We're going to see if we can address that with just a change in my medication. And then I went and took a stress test. You know what? I don't get it. Okay, so, you know, obviously I'm not a doctor. But to me, it's kind of weird. It's like, oh, well, you had a heart attack. So let's give you this stress test and push you to the verge of another heart attack. It's like, and yes, I guess I got to do that to check for heart disease and stuff like that. But yeah, I get it. But unfortunately, I have known of people who died in the doctor's office doing a stress test. In fact, my grandfather on my mom's side actually died, but was revived during a stress test in a doctor's office. So yeah, I wasn't looking really too much to do with it. And I hate it. It's just, it's not fun. But hey, at least there's good news, at least right now, that more than likely not going to have to go back in the hospital, have another stent put in, unless the medication does not take care of that blockage. So I guess there's a bit of blockage, but I guess according to the cardiologist, it's like lower down, which isn't as bad. So it just kind of increased the statins I'm taking. So anyway, all right, so that's that. Well, I also wanted to point out what's on the show this week. And tomorrow's show, I will be reviewing Samurai Jack Back to the Past from USAopoly. And this is based on the final season of Samurai Jack, the hit Adult Swim cartoon. So I will be reviewing that. It's all reviews this week, amazingly enough. Wednesday, it's War Game Wednesday. So I will be reviewing Cataclysm, A Second World War from my friends over at GMT Games. So it is interesting. I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna, not gonna give anything away. Then on Thursday, I always love talking about RPGs on Thursday, so I am going to be reviewing Kids on Bikes from Hunters Entertainment and Renegade Game Studio. So this is the deluxe edition in hardcover. It's a bit longer. I think there's like an extra 40 pages in this deluxe edition. Plus, it's also a hardcover. Then on Friday, I will be reviewing Tiny Epic Zombies from Gamelin Games. Oh yeah! Lots of game packed in a little box. So I'll be talking about that. And then, next Monday, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Doomseeker from Games Workshop and Ninja Division. I have not had an opportunity to bust this out yet, so we will actually kind of dive in and take a peek. So that's what's coming up on the show. Anyway, as I had mentioned earlier, I want to review Smash Up, Oops, You Did It Again from Alderac Entertainment Group. It's the latest expansion for the hit Smash Up, obviously enough. And of course, it is designed by Paul Peterson. The way this one is being presented, as far as my understanding is, and I'll kind of show you why, and why am I getting... for crying out loud, I thought there were only one slide. There we go. Duh. Some leftover news slides from last week. Anywho, the game is designed by Paul Peterson. I believe you can utilize this actually as a standalone, not just as an expansion. You can use it as standalone game. It's got 4 new factions. Of course, Smash Up is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Plays in around 45 minutes. Oops, You Did It Again is available right now, and it does carry an MSRP of $24.99. Let's swing on over to the other camera. There we go. All right, so we got the box right here, and as you can see, I'm kind of zoomed in today. Usually I'm way zoomed out. The camera's way above, but at least today, that's not the case. So this is the box. It's pretty much a standard Smash Up expansion size box that carries 4 factions. So we've got the little tuck box here for the 4 factions. Of course, if you have the bigger, geekier box, which is right over here behind me, you can easily just put all 4 factions in with all the other factions you've already got. Okay, so we've got the 4 factions, we've got new bases, and then of course we have new plastic separators. I really like these separators. I really, really dig these. And these were introduced not that long ago. So they hold up very nicely, very cool. And of course, with the bigger, geekier box, there's a bunch of separators for the various different expansions in there, as well as the 2 new factions that came with the bigger, geekier box. So we've got the rule book, and the rule book, you know what? I better put on my reading specs just in case. This is why I'm talking about how this isn't necessarily just an expansion. You could conceivably play this as a standalone because you get a bunch of the victory point tokens. These are just cardboard. So you got the 5s and 1s. So you got a whole mess of these. And then, rather than just talking about just, oh, okay, so these are the 4 new factions, and hey, here's the new wrinkles in gameplay with them. No, that's actually basically saying, okay, here we go. Get to know your cards. Setting up the game. Sample setup. So all this stuff is the same as you would see with the core book, the core game, core Smash Up game. So then it talks about phases of a turn, the big score, and then we get into new rules. So we got new rules on burying, got duels. We've got the Vikings have some pretty wild new ability, very, very cool. And we got terms and restrictions, so it's talking about the different cards here. Got some clarifications as well. So, really nicely done. Really, really nicely done. Talks about the factions. And then, of course, the credits. Now, I always like the artwork from Smash Up. I think the artwork's pretty cool. It's realistic enough to be, you know, not super cartoony, but then it's not photorealistic either. So, and of course, even though there's various different artists involved, the art still kind of ties together. I shouldn't say kind of. It does tie together. It's not all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, I've got this one faction here and they've got artwork, and then, man, this other faction just looks completely, you know, out of place when you put it together. So if you are not overly familiar with Smash Up, honestly, I don't know why you'd be watching this review, but it is what's known as a shuffle building game. So you're basically taking 2 20-card decks, which represent each faction, and you shuffle them together. So you got a 40-card deck. You've got bases, and basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to take over the bases from the other players and score victory points. You're attacking the bases, scoring victory points. Usually you'll play till like 15 victory points. Although you can decide you want to make the game longer or shorter. It's completely up to you. as far as how that works. All right, so let's look at the different factions and what they kind of bring to the table. So these are the new bases. So we've got, well, I should point out that the factions we have is we've got ancient Egyptians, we've got samurai, we've got Vikings, and we've got cowboys. So, and the reason why the game is called Oops, You Did It Again is it's the second time that AEG has kind of polled the gamers out there saying, hey, you know what are some factions you really want us to do? And then when they counted the votes, counted the tallies and that, they're like, wow, how did we never actually do Vikings? You know, aren't Vikings like super popular right now in gaming? It's kind of like, how did we not do Vikings? How did we not do samurai? It's like, huh? That's the whole oops, you did it again. So reality is it's oops, AEG did it again, not necessarily you out there. All right, so anyway, so we've got two bases for the samurai. We've got the Shogun's Palace and the Sakura Garden. Wait, a lot of mention of Sakura recently. There's the, I'm trying to remember, Sakura Arms, which I reviewed, which was part of AEG's Big in Japan line. Kind of cool, very, very unusual card game. All right, so then we've got the two for the Vikings. So we got a Longhouse and Drakkar, and the Drakkar is a Viking ship. So of course, as with all the bases, there's always a special ability, special power there. So for the Cowboys, we've got the So-So Corral, which I thought was funny. So the OK Corral, it's just a So-So Corral. It's not even okay. Then, of course, we got the Saloon. And then for the ancient Egyptians, we've got the Pyramids. And then the Star Portal. So it's like Stargate. So I thought that was kind of funny. There's always all these little pop culture references and things like that in the various different factions. So okay, so let's take a look at we're gonna look at the samurai, and then we're gonna look at the cowboys, then we're gonna look at the ancient Egyptians, and then we're gonna look at the Vikings. All right, so there's a new aspect to Smash Up with the samurai and the cowboy factions, and that is dueling. So you're able to actually have one minion duel with another minion from another player, and it's pretty simple. So you're gonna actually have them across from each other at a base, and you place your minion, and then you'll have another card from your hand you're gonna place face down. If you flip it up and it's an action, you get to take that action. If it's a minion, it just goes back in your hand, and whoever's got the highest power is going to be the winner of the duel. So kind of cool. It's something a little bit different. Now the cowboys really focus on dueling a lot. The samurai, not as much. So just to kind of show some of these off. Samurai Chan. So there's 4 of those. We got the Ronin. The Bushi. And of course, it's going to talk about, okay, so ongoing. After this minion goes to the discard pile from play, while it has 5 or more power, gain a victory point. And then, of course, we've got the Shogun. Then we've got the different action cards, Way of the Warrior, Honor the Ancestors, Honor the Fallen, Final Haiku, Honorable Combat. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Yokai Attack. Destroy one of your minions to play an extra minion and an extra action. Code of Bushido. Heart of Battle. So, as I mentioned, Shoguns do they duel. They have the ability to duel, but it is not just, that's not the only thing they I shouldn't say only. It's not a it's not as baked in as is with the Cowboys. So here we go. So we've got the deputy. Hey there, partner. Special, on your turn or during a duel involving your minion, you may discard this card from your hand to give minion +2 power until the end of the turn. So we've got the deputies, we've got the gunfighter. This minion may duel another player's minion here. Destroy the losing minion. Then you got the Pinkerton. Although I thought it was kind of weird. It's Cowboys, but they put a Pinkerton in there. Usually Pinkertons were working against cowpokes. At least the Pinkerton agency. Won't even talk about Jesse James and the Pinkertons, or I should say Jesse James' mother and his brother. And then, of course, we've got the sheriff. So now we've got Gold Strike. Play on a base ongoing after you play a minion here. Draw a card. High Noon. Quick Draw. I'm Quick Draw McGraw. Now hold on there a minute, Baba Louie. I'll do the thinning around here. I know, not a very good one. Not a very good impersonation, but form a posse. This one's pretty cool. Each of your minions gain 1 power and cannot be destroyed, moved, or returned to the hand until the end of the turn. Just golden them their heels. Stagecoach. The original Stagecoach is excellent. Excellent movie with John Wayne, a very young John Wayne. Dynamite Surprise. Then run them off. So, those are the Cowboys. And like I said, the Cowboys kind of mainly focus on the dueling because, you know, the gunfighters all duel. Then we've got, let's do the ancient Egyptians. So the ancient Egyptians have this new play style where you can bury cards, which I thought was pretty interesting. So burying cards, you actually see, so here it says, on your turn, you may bury a card from your hand here. So you can bury a card from your hand, like so. And then what'll happen is that on your next turn, if you want, you can actually dig these up. So it gives you the opportunity to get more cards out. So I thought that was kind of cool. And if you think about it, it really does kind of tie in to the ancient Egyptians, right? It's not just mummies. That's why this faction isn't just mummies. This faction is the ancient Egyptians. So you got these mummies. So ongoing, after this base scores, you may bury this minion on another base. That's kind of wild. So we got the mummies. We got the pyramid engineer. We got the priest of Anubis. And then we have the pharaoh. And then, of course, we've got ancient curse, plague of locusts, mummy strength. You can take it with you. That's kind of funny. Lost knowledge. See, this was kind of odd, where it's like, okay, so we had the ancient Egyptians, and now it's like some sort of explorer, kind of like a little bit of a Lara Croft kind of character there. Blessing of Anubis, Tomb Trap. It's actually a pretty cool card. All right, and as you can tell, the kitties are down here in the duct tape studio with me today, and Pinky decided she's going to start chiming in. All right, so the burying aspect's kind of cool. Zarks81, hi, great to see the coverage of this expansion. Well, not a problem. I'm pretty tight with AEG. And I'm one of these people where I like to, share some, more than just 3 minutes or 5 minutes as far as when I do unboxings or when I do reviews. So then we got the Vikings. The Vikings are, this faction's super cool. I like the Samurai, I like Cowboys, although the Cowboys I thought, I don't want to say I'm disappointed in the Cowboys, they're just not as cool, in my opinion, as the ancient Egyptians with the ability to bury cards. And then we got the Vikings, and the Vikings allow you to kind of steal cards from your opponents. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's the Huskarl, I guess. Huskarl. The Shield Maiden. So here, for an example. Reveal the top card of another player's deck. If it's an action or a minion of power 3 or less, place it into your hand. Otherwise, return it. You got the Raider. Then we got the Valkyrie. So the Valkyrie, place a minion from another player's discard pile into your hand. I mean, that's pretty sweet. So I guess the Valkyrie is basically going and escorting a minion from your opponents up to Valhalla, right? And you're going to actually get to utilize them. Then we got Cast the Runes. Combat Training. There's a lot of like raiding and pillaging. So we've got tribute. That's kind of where the stealing the minions and the other cards kind of considered like being, see, for an example here, pillage. Take a random card from another player's hand, place it in yours. Raiding Party. Reveal the top 3 cards of another player's deck. You may play a revealed action or minion of power 4 or less as an extra card. Return the rest in any order. A couple of those. Viking Funeral. Ransack. Place an action on a minion, an action on a base, or a buried card into your hand. Got Berserk. And we've got a couple of the Berserks. So, those are the 4 factions. As I mentioned before, I think the Vikings are very cool. Vikings are very cool. The ancient Egyptians are very cool. Samurai's all right. And the Cowboys are all right. What I really appreciate with this expansion is the new Wrinkles gameplay. Especially because early on, with some of the expansions, because I don't have every expansion for Smash Up. I'll be the first to point that out. I have quite a few, but this is one of the more recent ones that I had actually received from AEG for review. Plus, of course, I've got the Geek box, so which had the bigger, geekier box. I was like, what is the name of that? It's the bigger, geekier box. So I had those 2, and I've got a few. I think all in all, I've got 3 expansions for Smash Up. But some of the expansions I got were early expansions, so there weren't like big, wrinkles to the game, to the gameplay that were coming out. I mean, Smash Up's super popular, but I know there are some people out there who don't care for it. Me, I like it. I like Smash Up, but I think I like it mainly because it gives me an opportunity where we can bust it out with, well, my nephew Cameron. He's a gamer now. He's part of the gang. He's 17 years old, so he's more into. He can get into some of the meatier games. Some are a little over his head still, but he can get in some of the meatier games. So, but I've been playing Smash Up with him for like 3 years. And I've played a little bit with my niece, who's 12 now. She's not a big gamer. But we can also bust out Smash Up with a variety of Cameron's friends, who some of those are members of the gang. They're always playing new stuff with me. But it really doesn't matter how much experience they have in board gaming. Smash Up's super easy to get into. Especially if you start taking the factions from like the original game and some of the earlier expansions, because there aren't a ton of things that you have to go, oh, well, now, like with these new four, you've got burying cards and you've got the dueling. Those are kind of the 2 new game rules, game mechanics that are included in Oops, You Did It Again. So, but I think overall this is a really good expansion because I like the new wrinkles. I like the Vikings. I think the Vikings are pretty sweet, and they can be pretty tricky. But of course, once again, with Smash Up, as I mentioned, you can play this standalone as a standalone game, but you figure you're just going 2 players and, you know, you've got only 4 factions to deal with. So it would be, oh, well, you know, I've got samurai with my factions, and then you've got cowboys with your factions. So a bunch of the dueling stuff. The dueling wouldn't be as unique as it is with taking other factions, shuffling them in, like zombies and cowboys or something like that, right? Or vigilantes from the 70s expansion and cowboys. Be kind of different. But all in all, I really like this expansion. I think it's very cool, the new wrinkles that are included. It's $24.99. That's price about right, seeing that there are some things that are included in it to kind of make it standalone if you want to make it standalone, if you want to kind of get a feel for Smash Up and the victory point tokens and so on and so forth. And of course, the new plastic separators that are really nice. I really, really like these. I wish they had done this. I wish AEG had done this with their Thunderstone Quest, which I really love. So, but you know, hey, what can you do? What can you say? Thunderstone Quest is still awesome anyway. So, all in all, I give Smash Up, Oops, You Did It Again, a 9 out of 10. I think I like Smash Up. Like I said, I know some people out there aren't big fans of Smash Up. I enjoy it. I enjoy the new wrinkles that these 4 factions brought to the game. Like the artwork. It's always a lot of fun playing Smash Up, at least in my opinion. So I definitely do give it a 9 out of 10. And it is available right now for an MSRP of $24.99. All right, so that is it for today's show. I'm going to move some stuff around a little bit. On tomorrow's show, I will be reviewing Samurai Jack Back to the Past from USAopoly. And, of course, as always, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Come on, by now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday. And of course, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.